Basic concepts of universe. Nebula. The Latin term nebula means cloud, but in astronomy, it refers to any celestial object that looks like a cloud when viewed through a telescope. This name included galaxies like our neighbor Andromeda, sometimes known as the Andromeda Nebula, when telescopes weren't as advanced as they are now. Yet, we now know that galaxies are made up of billions of stars instead of clouds, thanks to the use of modern telescopes. As a result, astronomers only use the term nebula to refer to actual clouds of gas and dust that are found within our own galaxy.
Is nebula a star or galaxy? A nebula is a cloud of dust and gas, usually tens to hundreds of light years across. A galaxy is much larger, usually thousands to hundreds of thousands of light years across. Nebulae, more than one nebula, are one of the many things that galaxies are made of, along with stars, black holes, cosmic dust, dark matter and much more.
What is in a nebula? Nebulae are made of dust and gases, mostly hydrogen and helium. The dust and gases in a nebula are very spread out, but gravity can slowly begin to pull together clumps of dust and gas. What are the three types of nebula? Clouds out in space interact with light in different ways as well. This leads to the classification of three different types of nebulae: emission, reflection, and dark.
Types of nebula. Emission nebula, a high-temperature gas cloud is referred to as an emission nebula. A star in this kind of nebula uses UV radiation to energize the cloud's atoms. It works in a manner like to a neon light. The nebula glows as a result of this. The presence of hydrogen in emission nebulae gives them a tendency to be red in hue.
Reflection nebula. In contrast to emission nebulae, reflection nebulae do not produce their own radiation. It is a cloud of gas and dust that reflects light energy from a star or group of stars in the neighborhood. Because of the way the light is scattered, they typically have a blue hue. The efficiency of blue light scattering is higher.
Dark nebula. A black nebula is a dense cloud of dust that obstructs light from objects behind it, with emission and reflection nebulae often observed alongside it.
Planetary nebula. A star that is nearing the end of its life cycle will form a disk of gas known as a planetary nebula. Their name may be a little deceptive. In reality, they are unrelated to planets. Because of this, these nebulae were given this name. Due to their rounded appearance, they frequently resemble planets. The remnants of the star, a white dwarf star, near its core usually shine light on the outer shell of gas. One of the best examples of a planetary nebula is the Ring Nebula in Lyra.
Supernova remnant. As a star expires in a tremendous explosion known as a supernova, leftovers of the supernova are left behind. A significant portion of the star's matter is released into space by the explosion. The remnants of the star that formed this cloud of debris shine. The Taurus Crab Nebula is one of the outstanding examples of a supernova remnant. It is lit by a pulsar that the supernova produced.
What are nebulae made of? Stars, black holes, dust and gases, dark matter.
Nebulae are made of dust and gases, mostly hydrogen and helium. The dust and gases in a nebula are very spread out, but gravity can slowly begin to pull together clumps of dust and gas. As these clumps get bigger and bigger, their gravity gets stronger and stronger.
What are the three different types of nebulae? Emission, reflection, and dark. Hydrogen, helium, and cosmic dust. Black holes, stars, and dark matter. Light, dust, and gravity.
This leads to the classification of three different types of nebulae: emission, reflection, and dark.
What is the birthplace of stars? Orion Nebula, Omega Nebula, Trifide Nebula, Lagoon Nebula.
Stars are born within the clouds of dust and scattered throughout most galaxies. A familiar example of such as a dust cloud is the Orion Nebula. Turbulence deep within these clouds gives rise to knots with sufficient mass that the gas and dust can begin to collapse under its own gravitational attraction.
What is a combination of emission, reflection and dark nebulae? Orion Nebula, Omega Nebula, Trifide Nebula, Lagoon Nebula.
Some are the remains of dead stars, planetary nebulae and supernova remnants. Some are mixtures of several different types of nebulae, the Trifide Nebula, a combination of emission, reflection and dark nebulae.
What is the process of energized atoms in the cloud similar to? Neon light, sunlight, starlight, prism light.
Within this type of nebula, a star energizes the atoms in the cloud with ultraviolet radiation. The process is similar to that of a neon light.
What does emission nebulae tend to be red in color because of? Oxygen, helium, hydrogen, nitrogen.
Within this type of nebula, a star energizes the atoms in the cloud with ultraviolet radiation. The process is similar to that of a neon light. This causes the nebula to glow. Emission nebulae tend to be red in color because of the abundance of hydrogen.